How do Georgia coroners investigate deaths in a nursing home? Stick around. Hey out there, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Rob. I'll be your host for this episode. We are going to be talking about the involvement of the county coroner's office here in Georgia to investigate and pronounce the cause of death after a death occurs in a nursing home. And we don't do that alone. We're going to have Miss Rebecca Callihan, the county coroner of Fannin County, Georgia, talk with us about that and what all she does and what all is involved in that process. So terrific conversation. Be sure to stick around for that. Now it's time for the nursing home regulation question of the week. Under 42 USC 483.20 I and J, nursing home staff participating in the MDS assessment must certify the accuracy of the information. Which of the following is the penalty for intentionally falsifying MDS data? Is it A, a civil money penalty up to $1,000, B, civil money penalty up to $5,000, or C, a criminal misdemeanor and a criminal fine up to $1,000? You know the answer? I think this was this is a hard one. This is kind of like, this is in the weeds sort of a question. But the answer is A, intentional falsification of MDS data by the participants would lead one open to a civil money penalty up to $1,000. So if you got that right, give yourself 100 points. That one was a tough one. All right, now it's time for everybody's favorite part of the podcast, and that is the ChatGPT generated joke of the week. Here we go.
The ChatGPT generated nursing home regulation joke of the week.
Skynet.
Under 42 USC 483.60, the facility dietitian must have 900 hours of supervised dietetics practice. Guess they want to make sure you've seen every possible way residents can say no to vegetables.
I don't know. We're just going to keep going. I don't know. I feel like I was worried about my job being taken by artificial intelligence. And if this is what artificial intelligence can do, I think I'm okay for at least the short term. All right, enough with the tomfoolery. Let's actually get into the substance of the episode. As I mentioned, we are not talking about this topic alone. We have with us today Becky Callihan. Becky Callihan has proudly served as the Fannin County Coroner for 16 years. Additionally, she holds the position of Secretary at the Georgia Coroner Association and serves as the President of the Blue Ridge Kiwanis Club. With a commendable 26-year tenure as a paramedic firefighter in Fannin County, Becky balances her professional life with a fulfilling family role, being a devoted wife, mother of 3, and grandmother to 7. Wow. Becky, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I get a lot of questions from the public about just what the role of the coroner is when their loved one passes away in a nursing home. So I'm really happy that you come on the show. Maybe we can shed a little bit of light on some of these questions, but just an easy one at the start. Who is the coroner and what does the coroner do in general?
The coroner is an elected position in all but about 4 or 5 counties, which is DeKalb, Cobb, Gwinnett. They have the medical examiner system. And a coroner actually can be anybody. You qualify to your name on the ballot. And so, the most coroners are either in EMS or in the funeral home business. And I am a paramedic firefighter.
Right. You've got, years and years of experience as a paramedic. So it's obviously it's helpful to have some type of medical background, because that's essentially what you're doing is you're kind of making a document or conducting at least an investigation in a broad sense about what happened to the person. So tell me about in general, and we can kind of get into nursing home stuff in a minute, but what in general, how do you approach each case? Like what are the typical steps that you undertake?
Well, the coroner's job is determining the cause and manner of death. And so when we receive a call, we're automatically start thinking, what is going on with this death? Do we think by just our dispatch information, is it going to be a natural death, accident, suicide? And we approach each death as if it's suspicious. That's the way we're supposed to do it until we determine otherwise.
So let's walk through a hypothetical then. So let's say that
Okay.
that we have an individual that has left the nursing home unresponsive, and then later passes away, maybe that same day or next day in the hospital, never regains consciousness. What is the process by which you're alerted to that death, and then what do you do next?
Well, that is a reportable death, and whatever hospital that patient went to is supposed to report to the coroner or medical examiner, depends on the county. Here in my county, right now, we only have an emergency room. So everyone else has to be shipped. If they're going to be admitted, has to be shipped to another hospital for more intense care. But my hospital calls me on all deaths. And when they were an operating hospital, they were calling me, were supposed to be calling me on all deaths. And if somebody is unresponsive and they go into the hospital and die within 23 hours or less, the coroner and or medical examiner is supposed to be contacted.
So then what kind of is your next steps then? You're contacted by the hospital in this particular situation. Kind of walk me through, what are you doing? You looking at medical
Okay.
records, you talking to
Yeah.
people?
If it's an inpatient, then what we do is subpoena the medical records. That's our subpoenas. That's all they're for, is for medical records, whether it be blood, X-rays, whatever medical. We interview the nurses. The nurses took care of this person. And when we subpoena medical records, they are not subject to open records. So if a family comes back later and says, I want a copy of your report, that's all they can get, is my report that's in the file. If we need to take pictures, if the nurse says, hey, they came in with some bruising and we're not sure what, this was not reported from the nursing home, they didn't report falls or anything, then we go out and start taking pictures of the decedent, just to cover our bases, and subpoena the medical records. And
And I'm sure that every county is different, but that
yeah,
sounds very, very labor intensive. Like, what kind of staff do you guys have in Fannin County for this?
I have 4 deputies, and so there's 5 including me. And I do a calendar once a month. Everybody takes call. We're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
You had mentioned that if there's bruising on somebody that's came from a nursing home or maybe passed away in a nursing home, that might be a red flag. Are there any other characteristics of a nursing home death that might be a red flag for you to, okay, we're definitely not just subpoena records, but let's send a deputy down to talk? Are there kind of, what are some of those things that you might look for as the coroner?
Malnourished, of course, bruising, fractures that are not documented, or they're documented, and we're getting one story, but the bruising and the fractures are not adding up to what we're getting. But if we suspect some type of abuse or neglect, then what we have to do then is get an investigator involved. And then when the investigator says, yeah, I think we have something here, then I would contact the medical examiner and say, hey, I've been in contact with the investigator. This is who I've been talking to. We've discussed, and this is what, our feelings are. And then the medical examiner will review everything and then say, I believe it's warrants an autopsy.
What agency or department would that investigator be coming from?
It would be coming from our sheriff's department.
I see.
The CID from our sheriff's department.
So based on what you see, if there's anything fishy, you get an investigator involved from the sheriff's department, and then if that investigation kind of holds water, then the next step would be there would be an autopsy.
Yes. Yes.
Um, in this process, how or if at all, how can the family be involved to possibly help an investigation like this?
Well, the biggest thing is, excuse me, if they're suspecting something going on with their loved one, they need to start documenting. They need to contact, and this needs to go on before they pass away. They need to go ahead and start contacting the law enforcement and saying, hey, there's something not right with mom, dad, my whatever, and let's get the ball rolling, because we have situations where family will come a year, 2 years, 3 years later after the person has either been cremated or buried and say, my mom was in the nursing home, and I really believe something is going on. Something happened to her, but then ball because mama's been cremated. So we have, and it's been year or more down the road. So, we need to interview people while everything is still fresh in their mind. So, and I don't know if it's because people are afraid because their loved one is in the nursing home, if there's going to be repercussion because there's been a report and they're afraid of that. I don't know. But if they feel something is wrong, they need to start an investigation before the person passes away.
Yeah, the fear of retaliation is a strong one with families of nursing home residents. So I guess what I understand you to say is that during your investigative process, when you have deputies involved and you're subpoenaing records, it's okay that the family reaches out to the coroner's office to give maybe their statement. That's
I've had 2 or 3 in the last couple of years. Somebody dies here in our nursing home and they're not on hospice. My office, once someone does respond, we take pictures just like it was. We're going to a scene. We take our pictures. We subpoena the medical records. We talk to the nurses, and there's been 2 or 3 times where even the staff would whisper to us, "Something's not right here." We've seen this, or we've seen that, and they're of course they're whispering to us, so we don't involve them because they have to get a paycheck. And then there's family members said, I know they're dead, but this is what we've been seeing, and this is even what we've been told. So we actually got our nursing home actually is in our city, in the city limits. So we would contact, if we're going to the nursing home, we'll contact the Blue Ridge Police Department investigator and say, hey, these are our suspicions. And we'll do the same if it was the sheriff's department, and go over the medical records and everything, and then contact the medical examiner. So we've actually had, I think, maybe 3 decedents, and one had already been transported to a funeral home. So we have to call in and say, don't embalm, don't do anything, because we need to contact the medical examiner and see where we need to go with this.
I think it's really refreshing that you approach the passing of a person in a nursing home or an acute care facility after being in a nursing home. They're all suspicious, because I feel like in some counties in Georgia, well, this is a medical issue. If they've passed away in a hospital, I'm sure that it's for medical reasons, and the default is not suspicious. The default is it is what it is. So it's
Right.
really nice that you have that position. So I guess my question would be then, and from a broad standpoint, if your deputies are going out, or a deputy is going out to talk to nurses, it's not default. We just assume that it's a medical issue. The nursing home could potentially be adverse. So you're going in with that mindset. Is that, would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so typically, if it's not just a matter of subpoenaing the records, you want to send a deputy out. How long does it take usually, in general, um, either before you call it or before you want to get an investigator involved? Is that days, weeks?
Oh no, it has to be pretty quick because the body is our evidence. So we need to get something going. And if the medical examiner wants to see the body, and we can't wait 2 or 3 weeks, we need to get them to the medical examiner as quick as possible. So, if family or if even the staff at the nursing home has some kind of issue and something suspicious, they need to contact their coroner as soon as possible. Um, Even before the body is removed from that nursing home, somebody needs to be there investigating that death.
Um, so when I guess the subpoena comes from your office. Do you ever have any pushback on the subpoenas to hospitals or nursing homes, like in Fannin County? Like, is there ever an issue of like you're not entitled to everything that you want? Is there ever times where you want something and they won't give it to you, like an incident report?
Occasionally, that for records, and they're not subject to open records, but um, by law, they're not supposed to hold anything back in a death investigation. But occasionally they want to buck on it and think they know more than the law. I've had that a couple of times, but
Sure.
I know people in Fannin County, so I make a phone call or two, and then that's resolved. So, but it has happened.
I see. Okay. Miss Callihan, you've been in Fannin County. You mentioned Blue Ridge. Like, I know that for anybody that's listening outside of Georgia, Georgia has about 3,000 counties. So
Mhm.
Fannin County is the northeast, right?
Yeah, we're 100 miles north of Atlanta in the
Yeah,
mountains. Yeah,
yeah,
we're a little tourist town.
yeah. Okay, you've been the coroner there for 16 years, and you're running for reelection. Is there anything that you want to say?
Um, Please vote for Becky Callihan. No, I love the job, and I'm blessed to do it. A lot of people ask me, how do you do this job? Because you're dealing with death, and you're dealing with the loved ones who they don't have their loved one to take their anger out on. So sometimes they take it out on the corner because, and then later I'll get a phone call and say, hey, I apologize. I was upset, and I totally get it. I've been there. But, and I tell everybody when I have a death, I have to lay it at the Lord's feet and leave it there.
Mhm.
And I can't dwell on it because, that's hard. Even if I'm not related, and I didn't know the person, it's still hard because I'm dealing with a family who's very upset, and I understand. I've been there. So
Yes, I mean, that's pretty powerful. I mean, because you're dealing with that day after day, and I'm sure it's
yeah.
difficult to separate the job that you have to do from the fact that, you're dealing with a family that's grieving every single day of your
Mhm.
job. So,
And
um,
here in Fenton, I've been here all my life. So I'm either, if I'm not related to you, then I grew up with you. So, um, but so it is hard. And then also being a paramedic, almost 30 years, a lot of these people that I go to do death investigations on, I've already been to their house, possibly, with caring for their loved one on the ambulance. So it does help me, especially in my death investigation, because I already have a rapport with the decedent and the family. So
what made you decide to leap from, helping people as a paramedic to helping people as the coroner of Fannin County?
the desire. I'm still a paramedic. I work every third day on the ambulance.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow, you're
yeah.
really putting in the time. Okay.
Yeah, so the coroners in the state of Georgia, except for maybe a couple of counties, it's considered part-time.
Hmm.
So working on the ambulance actually is what pays my bills.
I see.
So
Labor of love, then. I mean, I didn't know that. This is
right,
why I do this podcast. Okay.
right, right, and but I do get a little salary for being coroner, but like I said, being a paramedic firefighter is what pays my bills.
Gotcha.
But even if I'm on the ambulance, I'm still the county coroner, and I still get phone calls and handle business, at the fire department. So I carry a county phone. People can call me anytime they want.
I hear you. Well, we thank you for your service both ways there, Ms. Callihan. That's fantastic. And we really appreciate you coming on the show, kind of enlightening us on how the death investigation works, at least through the coroner's office. Really appreciate you coming on.
You're very welcome.
All right, folks, I hope that you found this episode interesting. I hope you found it informative. I know that I learned a few things that I didn't know before, and I guess that's the whole point of this. New episodes of the Nursing Home Abuse Podcast come out every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts from, as well as YouTube and on our website, nursinghomeabusepodcast.com. If you have any suggestions for content, or if you have any ideas of guests that you want to hear from or hear from again, please be sure to let me know. Leave a comment down at the bottom, or shoot us an email, DM us, smoke signals, however you want to get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. And with that, folks, we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Nursing Home Abuse Podcast. Nothing said on this podcast, either by the host or the guest, should be construed as legal or medical advice, nor is intended to create an attorney-client relationship between the host or their guest and the listener. New episodes for now are available every other Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube and our website, nursinghomeabusepodcast.com. Again, that's nursinghomeabusepodcast.com. See you next time.